Hi, this is David Bruce Linden from the Earth Medicine Institute. We are here in Mānoa Valley on Oʻahu, and I'm with Gabe Sachter-Smith. Gabe is a plant wizard, and Gabe is going to talk to us today about alternatives to the agriculture of the islands and crops that are just as nutritious as what we're growing, but grow better here, so we can create good nutrition and food security for Hawaii. So Gabe, we are here in your garden. Tell me about what we're seeing here.
A big mix of things happening. On the borders, I always have the perennial, low rotation things, bananas, cassava, pigeon pea, chaya, sugar cane, things that I don't pull out of the ground very often, so keep them in one space.
So you have those over there, huh?
Yeah, all around the whole borders. There's different stuff.
Oh, the edge, got it.
I only have bananas on one side at a time generally, so that I can rotate them, because if they stay in the same place for too long, then they can build up disease and pest issues. So then I keep spots where I can move them to.
So you move them so they don't get sick?
Yeah, it's good practice too, every few years to move. Deliberately replant bananas so that you don't build up these diseases, even if they're not sick yet. If you wait till they're sick, it's too late. So you replant before they're sick.
Got it, got it.
And then in the central area of the garden, I have 7 beds that are sort of a high rotation veggies. If you put these kind of plants too close to the things that don't want to be dug up, then you're always digging up the roots and damaging the soil around the plants that are more sensitive to that. If you had sweet potatoes, which take 3 to 5 months next to bananas that are there permanently, you're always digging them up. You'd always be messing up the banana roots. So we keep these plants together. This is a purple leaf cassava plant, also known as tapioca or manioc. It's normally eaten for the roots, all cassavas, but also the young leaves are edible. This one I have kind of planted in the middle of all the stuff because I needed somewhere to nurse the one cutting I got of it with the other plants. So when it gets big, I cut it and then replant from it. This I wouldn't normally keep it here, but yeah, cassava leaves are edible and really nutritious after they're cooked. You want to use the young ones because the old ones they're a lot tougher and a little.
What would this replace as a crop in your perfect world?
The default answer to all these things is spinach. Any kind of cooked leaf, use it like spinach. Yeah, use it like spinach. There's all kinds of different recipes throughout the world that use cassava leaves like that. Macerate them and cook them like in coconut milk and kind of have it as a side dish, or boil them for a little bit first and then put them into stir fries or soups.
And this needs to be cooked, correct?
Yes, cassava leaves should be cooked, and the roots too at all times. And the roots are also really, that's really where most of the action is in the plant.
In the roots, yeah.
They're used like potatoes, basically. You can do all sorts of different recipes with them. Some interesting sort of features that they have, though, is that they, right out of the ground, they're perfectly friable, and they'll get crispy and crunchy without having to do any type of curing or like changing of the moisture content. So you can go straight from the garden to like French fries.
Yeah, we had some the other night that were delicious.
Yeah. This is a pigeon pea. There's lots of different varieties of pigeon pea, and they have all kinds of different names. Gondole beans is a popular one here in Hawaii. This variety is a kind of perennial, long-term one. There's also short cycle, annual types. But this variety is particularly well suited to edamame style use, so you can eat them when they're big and green, or wait till they're dry and use them as a dry bean. But pigeon pea, if managed correctly, will fruit and flower most of the year. Once they get going, they definitely have seasonality, but they can be used as human food. They're an excellent source of food for, like, if you have animals in your yard, like chickens or ducks. Goats love eating the leaves. They're a really good nitrogen fixer, and so the leaves can be used as a green manure crop to fertilize other parts of your garden or as mulch. You can continually cut it back and get new regrowth all the time to rejuvenate the plant, or to just use as a cover for the garden.
And what would this be a substitute for? Like, what local crop that we're growing now would this be a good substitute for?
Any beans. I use it just like in burritos and tacos as like refried beans, or like garbanzo beans to make hummus. You cook them and blend it up with some spices and make like dips and various things, and one plant of this, or any type of soy, anytime you can think of using soybeans for,
You could use this, huh?
you can pretty much use pigeon pea for. And so, but one pigeon pea plant can last maybe this perennial type for 5 years or more and be productive.
Wow.
Without replanting.
Wow.
I don't know how many soybean plants it would equal, but many more to get the same production out of soy from one plant in your garden.
So people can grow this in their yard, in their garden, in their
excellent garden plant.
Great, fantastic.
So this area back here is full of big invasive macaranga trees, and I've cut them all down, and I'm kind of planting a little mini agroforest. So I got white sapote, coconut, breadfruit, and I have pigeon pea and cassava and things stuck into the understory. But one of the weedy, wild things that is dominating the scene right now is this ivy gourd, which is a terribly delicious invasive. You can eat the leaves raw or cooked, and also the fruits. They have like a red fruit. They're not fruiting right now, but this is everywhere. You can eat on this for days and days.
And you eat the leaves?
The leaves, yeah, and the fruits too when they're ready, but there's no fruits on these ones right now, so you can just...
So what would this be a substitute for?
Spinach.
Spinach,
like everything. I mean, if you're thinking the garlic, kale, lettuces, I mean, if you want to try it. Slightly bitter raw. Cooked, the bitterness goes away, but...
Yeah, it's tasty. That's really good.
It's a cucurbit.
Oh, yeah. Which is the cucumber family.
Yeah. And so, this is one of the wild things that just is in the garden I can harvest from any time.
Fantastic.
This is a winged bean. It's a tropical bean. It's called such because it has wings on it. These plants are just getting started. They're pretty slow to establish, but once they get going, they're pretty difficult to stop. And these 3 plants will probably produce more wing beans than I'll be able to eat or give away. 3 plants in our student farm plot produced about 10 pounds a week for us.
Wow.
Of just the young pods. And this is what's the most common part that's eaten, but actually the entire plant is edible. The young pods are edible. When they mature, you can eat the seeds and use them like anything you would do with soybeans. The leaves are edible, and even they make a tuberous root that's edible. And the flowers are edible as well. So this is just the first ones coming on, and they're nice and snappy and make a great addition to stir fries and soups and stews. You can eat them raw, cooked.
And this would be a substitute for
green beans,
lima beans. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Just addition to any type of stir fries or a vegetable filler, and they're very productive once they get going. You need a strong trellis though, otherwise it'll take it down. The vines get so big.
Well, so all of these things are like easy to grow.
Very easy.
That's great though.
The more work you put into them, the more you get out of them. But if you don't put much into them, you still probably get something.
That's great.
Whereas some of the more common and popular, typical Western diet veggies, you got to put a lot into them in the tropics sometimes. This is chaya, one of the most nutritious, productive, and easy to grow leafy greens known. It'll grow into a small tree if you let it, but this one I've been pruning back a lot because it's so vigorous. I just pruned this back a couple of weeks ago to give cuttings to a friend. It was completely defoliated and it's all growing back now. You eat the leaves, you can cook them, use them for anything that you would want to use cooked leaves for.
And you need to cook them, correct?
You need to cook them. It's generally considered toxic without cooking. Now, some people will eat them in small amounts, but some people do a lot of crazy things. It might be fine, but it's better to cook them, especially if you're going to eat them in high amounts.
And this would be a substitute for kale, things like that?
Yeah, kale, collards, spinach, any type of cooked leafy green. It's very productive though, and one plant will provide you with more leaves than you can eat or give away.
Fantastic.
It's also really drought hardy and really vigorous plant. So this is a potentially Hawaiian variety of sweet potato called Ualakea. It just means white sweet potato. It has white flowers, white skin, and white flesh in the roots, and it's a very vigorous plant. And although it makes really good sweet potatoes, it also has a very strong, vigorous top, and so is great for sweet potato leaf production. And so I plant it around the borders of my gardens in areas that I don't frequently dig up, just to have a source of sweet potato leaf.
And this needs to be cooked?
Yeah, it won't hurt you if it's not cooked, but I think it kind of has a weird taste to it, almost like a metallic kind of thing happening. But it's really closely related to ong choy and can be used the same way as ong choy or kangkong is used, and also any type of spinach. It's wonderful in soup, stews, stir fries. Keeps its texture very nicely, and is very satisfying as a leafy green.
All right. So Gabe, what would be your primary message to Hawaii's gardeners?
Plant anything and everything and try out as many different things as you can, and be a very keen observer and see what works, what doesn't, and have an open palate and try to incorporate any type of new things into your diet, because the more you try to grow, the more diversity, the more opportunity you'll have that something grows well, and then if you bring that into your kitchen and try to use it, you'll appreciate it a lot more, and you'll see how easy it is to grow food in your garden.
So keep an open mind and an open palate?
Yes.